What is manhood? What does it really mean to be a man? Our modern culture has twisted the idea of what manhood is so far away from the actual meaning of the word that we now have multiple generations of men in utter confusion or following the wrong path altogether. We have a generation of adult males who have become childish consumers, cowards, or critics. Guys who are just trying to satisfy themselves with temporary pleasure, placing value on whatever they consume and not what they produce. This is a form of manhood, if we can even call it that, characterized by selfishness and materialism. It's devoid of any eternal value. Way back in medieval times, a young boy who wanted to be a knight had to start off as a squire. Now in modern times, the path within trade starts with an apprenticeship, and that apprentice can graduate to a journeyman, and the journeyman can continue on that path to becoming a master. To graduate from one level to another, one must have benchmarks and work toward achieving them. This system of benchmarks is also true in a man's development. Sure, physical maturity into becoming an adult male, it really only requires time and some hormones. But in order for a boy to become a man emotionally and spiritually, he must set out on a path striving to meet the benchmarks of manhood. Sadly, in our current society, the benchmarks for manhood have been distorted and transformed into what some call the 3 B's. The first B is billfold, and that's measuring one's manhood based on how much money they earn or the job title they have. The second B stands for ballfield, which is measuring manhood based on strength, athletic ability, or physical toughness. And the third B stands for bedroom, which is where a man's manliness is based on one's popularity with the ladies. With these absolutely meaningless benchmarks for the metrics of manliness, it's no wonder our world is in the shape that it's in. But there is hope. There is another path, the path of authentic manhood. Authentic manhood calls for completely different benchmarks, ones that actually matter. They aren't naturally within men, but must be fought for every day. Authentic manhood, 1, rejects passivity. Men have been struggling with passivity since the beginning of creation. The events in the Garden of Eden found in the book of Genesis in the Bible is the earliest example of male passivity. Adam was in the garden with Eve when she ate the forbidden fruit. He stood there, idly watching the interaction between Eve and the serpent who enticed her to eat the fruit, and he did nothing to stop her. Adam was passive. Authentic manhood rejects passivity. It does not go with the flow in order to avoid conflict. It does not take the easy way out. It does not stand idle and do nothing when action is required. Authentic manhood makes the hard choices and does what is right, even if it will cost everything. Avoiding passivity is one that's near and dear to my heart. I recognized in my teens that generations that came before me really struggled with that one. Being aware of it at such a young age means I've had a longer time to fight against it, and I still have to every day. A recent example for me of something I've had to do to reject passivity was in regards to the band I was in. For about 2.5 years, I was playing drums in a band that was playing gigs in town. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed getting out and playing music. It had been a long time prior to that since I've played. But then some shenanigans started. A couple of the guys in the group started doing some things on stage that was not consistent with my value system. The temptation was definitely to just look the other way, don't say anything, because I don't want to upset the band situation. Everything is going great right now. But I had to reject passivity. I called them out on the behavior. I told them it wasn't cool with me, and the conclusion of that was I left the band. It was the difficult thing to do, but it was the right thing to do, and I don't regret it. Number 2, accepts responsibility. The authentic man accepts the responsibility to something greater than himself. As men, we are called to love and care for our wives and children. And love is not the feeling you have for them, but it's the actions you take for them. The authentic man is called to literally lay down his life for them if necessary, but also figuratively die to himself and his own needs for the needs of his family. An authentic man gives himself willingly to that responsibility. He also accepts responsibility for his mistakes and failures. He doesn't play the blame game. Man has been skirting responsibility for his actions since the very beginning. Let's go back to our example in the Garden of Eden. In Genesis 3:11 and 12, Yahweh, the God of the Bible, confronts Adam after he and Eve ate the forbidden fruit. It reads, "Have you eaten from the tree from which I commanded you not to eat?" The man said, "The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me some of the fruit of the tree, and I ate." He passed the blame. He pointed the finger at his girl and said, "Well, she ate it first and then gave it to me. It's her fault I ate it." The authentic man does not do this. He accepts responsibility. He acknowledges the mistakes he makes and owns up to his involvement in them. He does not blame others for his wrongdoing. Hello, buddy.
Hi.
What is one of your responsibilities you have?
To read?
Well, yeah, that's part of your schoolwork, right? So your responsibility is to do your school assignments. Are you accepting responsibility and getting that done?
Yeah, it's also a good book.
What are you reading there?
I'm reading a Hardy Boy book, and it's Footprints Under the Window.
Do you take responsibility, Miss Willow? Not much at all, do you? The third defining benchmark of authentic manhood is the authentic man leads courageously. As men, we are called to lead by example so our wives and our children and all those in our sphere of influence can see a clear, consistent path to follow. We have to be the men we want our children to become and constantly model that behavior. Do as I say, not as I do, doesn't cut it. Lead by example. One of the things that I do for setting a good example for little buddy is carving out intentional reading time. Get your Bible? On Tuesdays, and today happens to be Tuesday, we do our Bible reading. What's our verse for today?
I'm pretty sure it's John 1:3-5.
All right, let's do it.
Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made.
The fourth and final component of authentic manhood is invest eternally. The 3B's definition of manhood, that is a lie. At the end of our lives, it does not matter how successful we were by the world's standards. It doesn't matter how many subscribers we had on social media, how famous we were, or how impressive we were in the eyes of others. These are fleeting metrics of no real value. What really matters is how much we have invested in matters of eternal significance, such as loving and serving your wife, raising your children well, loving and serving others in your community, and standing up for those who don't have their own voice. That's how the authentic manhood invests eternally. There you have it. Just to recap, the authentic man rejects passivity, accepts responsibility, leads courageously, and invests eternally. That is the manhood for which we need to strive, not the false manhood promised us by the billfold, ball field, and bedroom. This content was inspired by a men's group study I did with a group of guys in my congregation from 2019 to 2021. The program is called Authentic Manhood, as you might guess, and it looks to Jesus Christ as our true model of manhood. If you're interested in learning more, you can check it out at authenticmanhood.com. And if you have any questions, of course, leave a comment down below. With all that said, men, I challenge you by asking you to stand and join me in pursuing a life of authentic manhood. Will you join?